Okay. Boom, there it is. Listen, I'm here. I am here today. Oh my, I've been looking forward to this day. And I see some familiar faces in here. I also see some profiles with tickets on them, which means you are not a member of the Mortgage Syndicate House. So the P.I.L.L method is joining forces with the Mortgage Syndicate today. If you want to see what we're doing, you want to go to ice10k.com. I'm going to put my link at the top of the page. All right, pin the link, ice10k. ICE stands for Interest Cancellation Expert, by the way. ICE, the number 10, the letter K.com. Boom. And once you see that, all right, let's see. Ooh, thank you, Kurt. Kurt says I'm doing an excellent job. All right, listen, folks, I get to push some of the buttons today. To make this whole thing work. Oh, I've been in training. I am what do you call that? Man, when you work under a journeyman and then, oh man. I don't know. I can't think of it right now, but I'm a trainee. I'm a novice, but we usually have somebody else pushing all the buttons for us. We have a producer. All right. But, apprentice. Oh, and I'm an apprentice. Grasshopper. So I'm an apprentice and I get to push some of the buttons today. I hardly ever get to do that, but today we're going to push some buttons. So listen, I want to say hello to everyone that is watching us online. So if you want to see us, the numbers online today, go to Zoom. I'm sorry, not Zoom, but YouTube. Go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method on your other device and click on live and you'll be able to see what we're doing. Also, by you coming in here today to listen to what we're talking about on Clubhouse, I would love it if you could come to the stage. All right. I would love it if you can come to the stage. You don't have to say anything. You can just listen from the stage. Guess what happens when you listen from the stage? Your followers get notified that you're in this room soaking up this knowledge, and then they may want to come in and get some too. So like Steve is usually here, so I'm going to invite Steve up to speak. Jeffrey, I see you in here a lot. I'm going to invite you up to speak, but you don't have to speak. Jonathan, you got to come on up. So Jonathan,
3 years old.
All right, there we go. Got Steve there. So let me go ahead and mute you, Steve. There we go. All right. And anybody else that wants to come up and listen from the stage, that would be fantastic. And if and because you are on the stage, if you are on the stage, guess what? You can tap in if you find something that interests you to talk about. I love conversation. I love questions. To Shane, I see you in here a whole lot. Can I get you just to come up to the stage? Because you do have 406 followers. When you come to the stage, you don't have to say anything, but when you come to the stage, your 406 followers get notified, and they may want to come in and see, what is she up to? What is she listening to? So folks, hit that little, raise your hand, come on up to the stage and listen from there. And I'm just going to ask the people who are on the stage right now. Do you have something that you want to say to the folks? You want to say good morning? You have a question? You have a comment? So let's start with ladies first. Tashane, can you speak to us this morning? Is it possible? Now, if you can't, you don't have to open up your mic. That's okay. All right. And Steve, how about you? Oh, there she is. Come on. What do you have to say
here? And I hope everyone is doing good.
Listen, we are doing excellently well because you are on the stage. Steve is on the stage. Who else can we get up here on the stage just to be able to say hello or just to sit and listen? Oh man, Eric is raising his hand. Come on up, Eric. Listen, stop. You guys do not have to sit in the audience. All right. We're all inclusive community here. Eric, do you have something you'd like to say this morning?
Oh, good morning, guys. I follow you. I listen to you. I think this is very important, especially it being advertised out there. And for me, I'm more curious as to what the 40-year mortgage might be available for investors. I don't know if that's a thing. And it's always a great wealth of information when you can break this down, because some of the misconceptions are that people will buy more house than they can afford. I think those who are savvy and those who understand how debt to income works, you can buy more house than you can afford based on the underwriting guidelines as well. And so the key is, how can we pay off that 40-year mortgage much sooner? And I think it's wise for people to be in this room. So I raise my hand so that most of my followers can follow. So great to be here.
Thank you so much, Eric. So listen, folks, here's what the first thing we're going to get out of the way. Okay. The P.I.L.L method is dedicated to paying off mortgages and other loans cheaper, not faster. Cheaper. There is a cost to borrowing money, and we need to be made aware of the cost of borrowing money and how to manage it, how the loans are set up so that we can be in a position to lower the cost of borrowing money. And the things that we have been taught over time actually increase the cost of borrowing money when we follow best practices that are being taught right now. What I'm trying to say is, folks, get rid of everything that you've ever thought about borrowing that you think lower the cost. Here's some things that people think lower the cost. Get the lowest interest rate available. In the long term, if you have a 30-year loan, and you want to make all 360 payments for 30 years, okay, then get the lowest term available, okay, because you'll pay less interest that way if you're going to make all 360 payments. But my average client only makes about 90 payments on a 360 term loan. So if you're going to make about 90 payments instead, then you don't necessarily want the lowest interest rate. You want the right interest rate for you that's going to help you accomplish a goal of paying a loan off in about 7 years. Okay. 7.5 years. Okay. So 84 to 90 payments, that's what you want to make. Now, here's what the reason why I say that. I just got back from Dubai. Right. Just got back from Dubai, and outside the hotel, they had Rolls Royces, Bugattis, Bentleys, listen, Ferraris, every type of luxury car in every shape and size outside this hotel. And these are the cars that these people drive up in. OK, and it was amazing. They're driving up in these luxury cars, huge luxury cars, like, they were Toyotas or something. Okay. And the point I'm trying to make is, even if it's a Rolls Royce that is a convertible or an SUV, you can't get a 30-year loan on that Rolls Royce. It has to be. If you're getting it on time, it has to be paid off in 7 years. Has to be. So if we can pay off a $200,000 to $300,000 car in 7 years, why does it take 30 years to pay off a $200,000 or $300,000 house? That is ridiculous. So let's find out what causes that to happen. And it has to do with the amount of interest you pay on these loans. And what position do I have to be in to pay the least amount of interest that's mathematically possible? So, folks, here's my first question to all of you. How many of you want to pay a 90 to 100% more interest than you have to? How many of you want to pay that kind of interest cost? All right. Wow. All right. So my engineer is actually in the air, flying back from Guyana. All right. Listen, he's also the media pastor at his church. So not only does he help us here, but he's the media pastor at his church. And the pastor asked him, listen, I need you to go to Guyana with me. And so this is why I get to push some of the buttons today. All right. And I'm going to show you some of these numbers. So listen, I want to ask some questions and let's see if I can get some answers. Okay. When you hear 40-year mortgage, what are some of the first thoughts that come to mind? If you have something you want to say, raise your hand, come up to the stage. Let's talk about it. And if you want to put it in the chat, that's okay too, because I'm learning how to do all of this. I'm watching all my screens. Right now, I have 4 screens to watch. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to add this camera angle, because listen, my engineer set all this up for me so I could have all these angles available to you so you can see. So anybody, what is the first thing that comes? Lots of interest. That's what Shane Slade says. Lots of interest. Okay. And okay, here they come. Sin says, but then if you make extra mortgage payments throughout the year, you may beat the interest. That is so true. Shane Slade says 40-year mortgage, dying with a mortgage loan before paying it off. Those are also some of the ideas that we get. But let me tell you something, folks. Just because the mortgage term says 40 years does not mean you have to keep it for 40 years. What? So the interest cost on these loans is based on the fact that you keep it for 40 years. They use terminology and we get sucked into the terminology: 30-year loan, 40-year loan, 20-year loan, 15-year loan, and all of the numbers are based on that, on the terms that are mentioned. but you do not have to keep it. If you have a 15-year loan, a 30-year loan, a 25-year loan, you don't have to keep it for that term. You can manipulate that so you can pay a lot less interest so that you are paying it off in about 7. How about that? Sin says the easiest way to get a house. Sin says the easiest way to get a house, though, LOL. So listen, let me tell you something, folks. You want to get your house, whether you're a real estate investor or whether you are a residential home buyer. You want to get your house, get into the house the easiest way possible. If you're online right now and you want to see the numbers I'm getting ready to put on the screen, okay? If you want to see the numbers I'm getting ready to put on the screen, go to YouTube, then search for P.I.L.L method. When you search for P.I.L.L method, you'll see our live broadcast. Click on the live broadcast. I have some people in here right now, and I have some thoughts that we need to let's dispel some things right now. I see here that the one thing that people think about 40-year mortgages right now, there are lenders out there right now that offer 40-year mortgages. They're not as common in every single company that offers mortgages, that offer the same 30-year mortgages, but you can get 40-year mortgages, real estate investors and home buyers. All right. And let me tell you this. If I had an opportunity and the next loan I get, the next mortgage I get, I'm getting a 40-year mortgage. All right. I want to show you some things that you don't listen. I got more people getting online and watching this. I'm trying to wait for a few more people to show up so that you can see what I'm talking about. Go to Zoom right now on a secondary device. You may have a second phone. You may have a laptop. You may have a tablet or something, iPad, so that you can see these numbers. I have on my screen a 20-year mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, and a 40-year mortgage. I may even put up a 50-year mortgage because if they offer me a 50-year mortgage, I'm going to jump on it with both feet. Yes, 50-year mortgage. I will do that. Okay. So raise your hand if you have any questions. Raise your hand if you want to come to the stage. Let's talk about it. Okay. Let's talk about it today. So let's go ahead and put this on the screen. I'm going to add this. There you are. I'm looking at a $300,000 mortgage right now at 6%. Let me make these numbers just a little bit bigger so that they will look bigger on your screen. Okay. I'm clicking on the wrong one. There we go. And nope, I don't want that to happen. Something's going on. All right, okay. I just messed up my screen. Let me go to view. Let me click on, let me go out, zoom out. Okay. All right, because I just messed up my screen. Hold on for a second, folks. All right, let me do this. There we go. All right, and let me share this screen again. Add to stream, and something's happening. I messed up, but I can fix it. So listen, I told you that I'm the apprentice here, in operating my presentation, and we're going to get it fixed. Full screen layout. All right, remove, add to stream. All right, and I'm not seeing it. Let me go here, see if I can fix it. I broke it, but I think I can fix it. All right, and add item. Let's see, camera, slot. There we go. No, that's not it. Dang it, I messed up. the stream. All right, there we go. I'm back. And so now let me do this, add share screen. I'm pushing all the buttons today, folks. And there we are. And add to stream. There it is. Got it. Okay, so let's take a look at our amortization schedule. This is a 20-year a 20-year mortgage, 240 payments. Let me see if I can get this to be a little larger. All right, there we go. There we go. A little bit larger so you can see the numbers, okay? Now, here's the payment, $2,149.29. Okay, so if you're a real estate investor, one of the things you want to take a look at is how can I increase cash flow? All right, so if I have a 30-year mortgage at 6%, 240 payments, 20-year payments, now my mortgage payment is $2,000. If I want a cash flow or if I want a lower payment, then I have to charge more rent than $2,149. So this is why real estate investors may take a look at, well, I don't want a 20-year loan because here's my payment. The other thing we're looking at is the interest payment on this thing is $1,500 for the very first payment. When I make the first payment, $649.29 goes to principal, $1,500 goes to interest. Whew, look at that. Now I'm going to put up a 30-year loan. Watch this. On a 30-year loan, my payment is $1,798.65. Look at that. From $2,149.29 to $1,798.65. So my payment is already less on a 30-year loan. All right. I'm looking again to see if I have any hands raised for people who want to come up to the stage. I'm not seeing anything. All right. Now, take a look at the very first payment on this one. $298.65 goes to principal on this loan, but look at the interest payment. It is exactly the same, $1,500. We just went from 20 to 30 with the exact same first interest payment. Look at the first two interest payments. One is $1,500. The next one is $1,498. Look at the 20-year loan. $1,500 and $1,496. Only about a $2 difference between the 20-year loan and the 30-year loan. Let's take a look at now the 40-year loan. That's 480 payments. Look at this payment. $1,650.64. A $300,000 mortgage at 6%. Look at my payment, $1,650.64. Let's take a look at the first two interest payments. Look at here, $1,500 and $1,499. Virtually the same amount of money. Can I show you something else that's interesting here? Let's take a look at the interest cost on these loans in the first 12 months. Let's take a look at that, because this program I'm using is called Brett Whistle. It's an amortization calculator. I use it for demonstration purposes. Watch this. The interest cost in the first year on the 20-year loan is $17,782.12, and you pay down your loan by $8,000. Okay, you pay it down by $8,000. That's your principal pay down, but the interest cost is $17,782.12. Let me ask this question: is $17,700 too much interest to pay the loan down by $8,000? You tell me. Okay, that is the 20-year loan. And we think by a 20-year loan, we're going to pay a lot less interest. But in this case, it's $17,000 in interest, $17,782 in the first year. Let me show you what it costs to pay it down in the first year on a 30-year loan. No one else is going to point this out to you. Dave Ramsey is not going to point it out to you. Susie Orman is not going to point it out to you. Your loan officer will not point it out to you. Why? Because your loan officer is not trained in how to understand how an amortization schedule actually works. Your real estate agent is not going to point this out to you. The only place you're going to get this information, folks, is right here in the P.I.L.L method. The only place you're going to get this is here, so that you can see the truth about these loans and the transparency of it. Truth and transparency, that's what you get here. And this is what we're dedicated to, so you can see the truth of the matter. Watch this. A 30-year loan, let me make this a little bigger. A 30-year loan, the interest cost on the first year is $17,899, almost as much on a 30-year loan. Look at 20-year, $17,782. 30-year, $17,899, virtually the same amount. Okay, just a few dollars difference. You would think that a 40-year loan would be way more money than this in the first year. Well, let me show you. Look at this. 40-year loan, $17,949.45. Almost as much money. Look at that. $17,949 versus $17,899 on a 20-year loan. It's still $17,782. But on the 20-year loan, your payment is much higher. So why put yourself in a bad position? I never get a 20-year loan. Never. I don't recommend 15-year loans. I don't recommend 20-year loans. I recommend 30-year loans or more, always, because the interest cost is about the same. That's number one. But in number two, the interest cost on a higher term is much easier to manipulate, and you can beat the bank at their own game when you do this. Let me tell you why. Marketers do what they do based on how most of us look at something. Okay. When you have a choice of options, I want you all to think about this. As a seller of a particular item, all right, whatever your widget is, whatever your widget you're selling, whether it's a service or a product, when a expert marketer who hires a marketing firm to do something, they may have different prices for the product and the features that product has. Okay, so you may have the highest price point where they say, listen, here's all the bells and whistles. Okay. Then there's a mid price point where you got some of the bells and whistles. And then there's the lower price point where you only got a couple of bells and whistles. All right. So here's what most marketers do. They give you at least 3 options. The one option that they're all hoping you'll choose is not the highest option, is not the most expensive option. And then most people, most people will not choose the cheapest option. Most people will choose the middle option, and that's what the sellers really want you to purchase. They want you to purchase the middle option. So they give you a huge option that in your mind you're thinking, man, that's a lot of money. And this one down here, this little bitty option is not going to do much for me because I don't have a lot of, I don't get a lot of bells and whistles with this one. I'll take this middle option because it kind of fits my price point. I get some of the bells and whistles, but I don't need all of the bells and whistles that this top option. Now, guess what? Some people only want the best in their mind, so they're going to choose that anyway. But most people will choose the middle option because when you have a lower point, a midpoint, and a high point, most people will choose the midpoint. Boom. That's what they're doing. So if I'm going to offer something to my people, if I'm a lender, I'm going to offer you a 40-year loan. I'm going to offer you a 40-year loan because then in your mind, you're thinking that's going to cost me way more money. So I'm going to go with this loan here. Now, why wouldn't they set it up so that more people would choose the higher priced one instead of the mid-priced one? Let me show you something. When you don't understand how these things work, you're going to make a decision based on an assumption. And I'm talking to real estate investors. They're assuming that the higher interest rate is going to be worse. They're assuming that the longer term is going to be worse. But in this case, the longest term is actually better. And let me show you why. And listen, I got 13 people on here. I've got some people here on Clubhouse. Go ahead and start including some other people here on Clubhouse. Start sharing this. If you're online, share it with your online community right now. All right. Go ahead and share it, everybody. All right. So on a 20-year mortgage, the big difference is not on the cost. The big difference is not on the cost. And I'll show you why. On a 20-year loan, in the first 5 years, on a 20-year loan, $300,000 at 6%, the first 5 years, the cost on interest is $83,656. In the first 5 years on the 30-year loan, the interest cost is $87,082. Look at this. 83,87. Not that much difference, okay? Between the 30-year loan and the 40-year loan, you got $87,000 in interest on the first 5 years. Now look at the interest cost in the first 5 years on the 40-year loan. It goes from 87 to 88. What? In the first 5 years, the interest cost is $88,582 on the 40-year loan versus the 30-year loan. Look at this, $87,82. Not even $1,000. Look at that. It is amazing. So what is the big difference between all of these loans? When you amortize these loans, the big difference is what the principal payment is. The principal payment is the big difference. Let me show you the principal payment on the 20-year loan. Look at the principal payments. They start out at $649, go to $652, $655, and in the first year, it goes from $649.29 to $685.91 in the first year. That's how much principal you're paying, but the interest cost is about the same. Interest cost is going to be about the same, but on the principal payment, you got more money going to principal on the 20-year loan. On the 30-year loan, your principal payments are smaller, almost by half. You got this much going to principal, $289, then $300, but on the 12-month span, it goes from $298 to $315. But the interest cost is about the same for the first year. On the 40-year loan, the interest cost starts out, the principal cost, the amount going to principal starts at $150 and goes to $159. So here's the question. Let me ask the question for you, Don. If the interest cost is about the same, why would I want a loan where a lot less money is going to principal instead of a lot more money going to principal, like on the 20-year loan. $649 here, $298 here, and on the 40-year loan, $150. Why would I choose a loan where only $150 is going to principal? Because of this. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. When I see a lower principal payment, I get excited. I get excited because I know what happens when you prepay this loan. Let me show you the difference between the 30-year loan and the 40-year loan. Let's go over the basics of what happens when you have a little extra money sitting on the side and you can prepay. When you borrow money, RB, the realtor, just came into the room. Let's invite her up. RB, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, Don. How are you?
I am doing excellent. I am doing great. I am so glad that you're here. So, RB, I need to take just a little bit break because I've been talking. People are tired of my voice. Can we hear your smooth, mellow voice? Introduce
Thank
yourself
you.
this morning.
Sure. Oh my goodness. Yes. So I'm RB, the realtor, licensed realtor in the state of New York. A buy and holds investor on the residential multifamily side and a landlord that operates in the long-term and short-term rental space. More importantly, I'm a person that um, has a passion for helping our community understand how to create generational wealth, have access to people that are doing real estate business and entrepreneurial work in a very high level. So I am typically known for um, having opportunity for people to come together for networking events in real estate. We just had an amazing one in Times Square on a rooftop in the middle of Times Square, and it was a lot of powerful people in real estate, and that just took place last Thursday. And then I also do home buyer seminars. So we have another one that's coming up, and that one is this month. You can go to www.rb10k.com in order to find out all of the things that are coming up. One of the biggest things I'm excited about is a networking event that I am going to be having because I strongly believe in the March of Dimes, which is a non for profit that helps fight against premature birth. Not only that, also proper health care for people that might not necessarily have access to it to combat. Infant mortality. So we're raising money for them. I usually do a walk every year, and that's happening in May on the 14th, I believe. So if you guys are interested in being a part of the solution, you can go to my link um, on my Instagram, which is NYS_realtor. There's a tab you can click to donate. We'll be walking May 14th. I think that, it's really important, obviously, to create successes in real estate, but it's equally as important to make sure that you're giving back. And while you're here on this earth, making sure that you're doing some good for people that might need a little bit of help, right? So there's a couple of things that are happening, and definitely feel free to tap into the first time homebuyer seminar that we're having coming up. It's virtual, so it's not state specific. It is the whole process from A to Z and how to tap in with some information about credit repair, about down payment assistance, and a whole bunch of other good gems. So um, that's my spiel. Hopefully that was helpful. And I'll be here to add value wherever I can.
RB, thank you so very much. Today we're talking about how some of the lenders are actually offering 40-year mortgages, not just for people who need to modify their loans, but there are loans for investors and home buyers at some places where they can get their mortgages. And I'm from now on, I always
I
ask,
wasn't aware.
oh yeah.
I thought it was all for people that were doing the modifications because there's been a lot of I guess, controversy just on the information for those types of products.
Right. But more and more people are looking at, more and more companies are offering 40-year mortgages, trying to make it more affordable. Things. So as when prices go up, all right, and I'm in the business of lending money, and things look like, oh man, with the current products that I have now, I have less business. So let's go ahead and offer a 40-year mortgage, and most people will think they're going to make more money anyway. But we're pointing out some things about a 40-year mortgage just in case.
What's that interest looking like on that?
That's
That you're paying out over the 40 years?
That's exactly what we're talking about, because you don't have to keep it for 40 years. I'm going to show you some things that you just came in, but I'm going to go back over some stuff. If you want to see these numbers, if you're close to your computer, RB, you can go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method, and pull up these numbers. But I'm going to go over these numbers for you. They're shocking. They're absolutely shocking. Okay. So on I've got a $300,000 mortgage, at 6% for 20 years, 240 months. Guess what the first interest payment is on this loan at 20 years? All right, is $1,500. That's the very first interest payment on the very first payment. Okay. On a 30-year loan, guess what the very first interest payment is? $1,500. Did you know that?
No.
On a 40-year loan, guess what the very first interest payment is? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. $1,500. In the first 12 months on all 3 loans, on the first 12 months, the interest cost on the 20-year loan in the first 12 months is $17,782. On the first 12 months of the 30-year loan, it goes from $17,782 to $17,899. That's between the 20 and the 30-year loan. On the 40-year loan, it goes from $17,899 on the 30 to $17,949 on the 40 in the first 12 months. Virtually the same amount of money. It does it over again at 5 years. At 5 years, in the first 5 years, on the 30-year loan, in the first 5 years, interest cost, first 5 years, $87,082. On the 40-year loan, $88,528. Virtually the same amount of money. The big difference between all of these loans is the principal payment, RB. That's it. How much money goes to principal on these loans? What do you think of that?
Well, that's definitely information I didn't have before, so thank you for sharing.
Okay. So now let's take a look at what happens when we prepay. Now, you can prepay any amount of money. Now, I prepay for a certain reason, not to pay the loans off faster, but to pay them off cheaper. Because when you borrow money to purchase your property, the bank is purchasing your equity in that property. The bank owns the equity, and you're purchasing it back month by month. But the way they do that, to amortize the loan, they give you a payment you can afford. But at the same time, that payment is super expensive. So in the first month on the 20-year loan, $649.29 goes to principal. On the 20-year loan, $1,500 goes to interest. On the 30-year loan, $298.65 goes to principal, but $1,500 still goes to interest on the 30-year loan. On the 40-year loan, $150 goes to principal and $1,500 goes to interest. So here's the thing. Why would anyone take a loan where only $150, you're purchasing your equity back, $150 worth of equity, but it's going to cost you $1,500 in interest on a 40-year loan. On a 30-year loan, well, at least I get almost double, $298 to principal. Why would I choose a 40-year loan? Because of the ability to prepay. Watch this. On a 20-year loan, if I make the very first payment, $649.29 goes to principal, but the second payment, $652.54 goes to principal. Now, because of what we know to be true, if I prepay line 2 on my amortization schedule, the $652.54, I don't have to pay ever. I just reduce the amount of interest on this loan by $1,496. That's interest I don't have to pay. And my next mortgage payment is actually on line 3 for the next month on my amortization schedule. On a 30-year loan, watch this now. On a 30-year loan, it's not $600, it's $649. All I have to come up with is $300.14 to eliminate $1,498.51 worth of interest. Only $300. Wow. Look at that. On a 40-year loan, all I have to come up with is $151.39 to prepay to knock out the $1,499 in interest I never have to pay. And that brings me down to line 3. Does anybody see any value in having a smaller principal payment here if your interest payment is virtually the same? Does anybody see any value in that? Put it in the chat if you see it. All right. So, Mayo Tane says, show us how much total will be the payment in 3 of them in the first 10 years. The first 10 years, that's 120 payments. Okay. The first year is 120 payments. Okay. And see thy wealth says, correction, hopefully there isn't a prepayment penalty. You know what? I don't even care about prepayment penalties. Let's talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Okay. So, Chris Monroe. Oh man. So do we prepay yearly in advance? So here's the thing. Our program tells you each investor or each person how much to prepay, and we take all the guesswork out of it, Chris. I'm just going over the basics here, just the basics. Okay. But if you're in a situation, you want to pay the right amount of money in the right month on the right day of the month. So what happens? So I'm going to go on. I'm going to go over what happens when you prepay. So in the first 10 years, let's go over this first. The first 10 years on all 3 loans. First 10 years, that's 120 payments. Okay. First 10 years, $151,509 goes to interest. That's if you make every single payment for 120 months. Okay. Every single payment for 120 months. On the 30-year loan, this is a 20-year loan I just showed you. On a 30-year loan, in the first 120 payments, is $166,000 in 10 years. Let's take a look at the difference. 151,000 to 166,000. On the 40-year loan, look at this. 120 payments, 173,000. That's 173, 166, 151. Not that much difference between the 3. Let me show you what happens when you know what happens. So if I'm talking to real estate investors, here's what most real estate investors are looking at, because this is what we're taught. I'm cash flowing on the property. Okay. I'm cash flowing because I'm charging more rent than my mortgage payment, and my tenant is paying the mortgage for me. All right. I want to disabuse that idea right now. Your tenant is not making the mortgage payment. You are. When your tenant gives you money, that is your money. My question to you is, when that tenant gives you money, how much of that money do you want to keep? Because in this loan, when on a 30-year loan, when the tenant gives you the payment of $1,798.65, $1,500 of those dollars goes to interest. So I'm going to put a calculator on the screen and put in $1,500. I've got a 30-year payment of $1,798.65. So when I do the division, 1798.65, look at this, 83% of your mortgage payment goes to interest. In other words, you're buying your equity back at $298 a month from the monies that your tenant gave you, but 83% of that money goes to interest. So if somebody gave me money to buy groceries, okay? Somebody's giving me money to pay for my house. Somebody gave me money to pay for my house. 83% of that money went to interest. In other words, for every dollar that goes to pay on this house, for every dollar, 83 cents out of every dollar goes to interest. And I'm buying my equity with 17 cents out of every dollar. Why would I want to do that? Because I'm purchasing the equity back. Why would I want to do that? So the next time somebody gives you money to buy groceries, just throw away 83 cents of that money out of every dollar they give you and buy your groceries with 17 cents out of every dollar. You would not want to do that. You would not want to do that. Here's the reason why. Because if I'm going to buy $200 worth of groceries and I could only use 17 cents out of every dollar, divided by 0.17, it would actually take $1,176 to purchase $200 worth of groceries if I had to throw away 83 cents out of every dollar. Okay? We don't buy groceries that way. We don't buy gas that way, but we have been convinced to buy real estate this way. So if I have $298 going to principal, guess what? If I prepay the $300, I don't have to pay the $1,498.51. If I prepay on the 40-year loan $151, I don't have to pay the interest on line 2, and I drop down to line 3 the next month. Watch what happens in the first year. You'll love this. You will absolutely love this. Okay? On a 30-year loan, here's how much equity I'm purchasing in the first year. $3,684 of the money my tenant gave me. But $17,899.80 went to interest. So here is my question, everybody. If I already know that I'm going to purchase that much equity, and it's going to cost me $17,000. Let's just say I have a few ducats on the sideline sitting in an account. Okay, I got it sitting in an account, and it is there for the purpose of making repairs and doing maintenance on my buildings. And let's say I have, I don't know, 25, 30 grand in that account. Could I take $3,684 out of that account, apply it to principal on line 1, and be paid down to line 12 in 1 month? Could I do that? Could I do that? Chris, what are you doing, man? Listen, don't be sitting down there in the audience. Where is Chris? Where is Chris? He's in here. I got Troy in here. I got Chris in here. Oh man. Chris, raise your hand so I can find you easy. There he is. All right. Invite to speak. Chris Monroe, come on up, man. If you can. I understand if you can. There he is. Chris, how you doing, man?
All is well. I'm watching you on YouTube and listening on Clubhouse. You're in two places.
Listen, man, we're not just there. We're also on Facebook, on Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time. All of us. All right. So Nicolette saying, Lovegood says, wow, that's crazy. So Chris, here's what we just went over. On a 30-year loan, I could, if I wanted to, if I had it in the right situation, I could prepay the $3,684 up front. But guess what? I'm paid down to here. I paid down to line 12 in just 1 month. I skipped all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12. I save over $16,000 in interest to do the exact same thing. I'm purchasing my equity on my own terms, and I only paid $1,500 for it instead of $17,000. So Chris, here's my question. If I'm going to buy this much equity anyway, can I now justify giving $17,000 of my money away to do it when I could have just bought it with $1,500 of my money? That's my question to everybody.
No brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Okay, now watch what happens on a 40-year loan using the same amount of money, $3,684. Okay, let's say we want to prepay the $3,684. All right. On a 40-year loan, watch what it does. $3,684. Look at this. Look at that. Knocks off almost 2 years. $3,662 knocks off almost 2 years off this loan. Because my principal payment is smaller, way smaller on the 40-year amortization. And so what should my frame of mind be? If I'm going to use some of my cash that I have sitting in the bank making 0.1%, everybody, okay, then I do not want to deplete my cash that I have sitting in the bank over and over again. What I want to do is I have a certain percentage of my rent money that goes into reinvesting to buy more doors. I have a certain amount of my cash that I bring in that I'm earmarking for reinvesting. I have a certain percentage of my cash that I'm putting away every month to do in a reserve to do maintenance and repairs. Okay, maintenance and repairs, a certain amount. Every now and then, if I know how much money I have going into my reserve account, if I took out about $3,600, okay, I took out about $3,600, then what if I just waited until I build that back up? Just make the minimum payments on all my properties, build up the $3,600 again. Let's say it takes 3, 4, 5, even 6 months to build it back up. I have the $3,600 again to use to put on principal, kill a lot of payments and a lot of interest. Chris, do you see where we're going with this?
I see exactly where we're going.
Do you have any questions?
Will the bank be mad that you're paying it off and not giving them any interest money? Wouldn't they be mad at that?
Chris, if they were mad, would you care?
I actually like making them mad.
Okay, somebody mentioned prepayment penalties, okay? And I like to look at prepayment penalties, all right? I like to change those words. Penalties, that's a bad word. Penalties is a bad word. but cost is not a bad word. So what if we change we change it from prepayment penalty to prepayment cost? All right. What do we want to know now? How much does it cost to prepay? That's what we want to know now. How much does it cost to prepay? So let's find out. If I know how much it costs to prepay, then what else do I want to know, folks? You put it in the chat. If I know how much it costs to prepay, what's going to make it worth the cost? You tell me. Put it in the chat right now, or open up your mic and say something. Come to the stage. What's going to make it worth the cost of prepay? The math. Christmas says, do the math. How much time it takes off, how much interest it takes off. Do you realize, folks, when they do those calculations, the reason why prepayment penalties are so strong is because no one has sat us down as home buyers or real estate investors on how to manage the cost of borrowing money. We have no idea how much interest we're saving when we prepay. If I know how much interest I'm saving when I prepay, let's say on this loan, on the 30-year loan, I want to prepay $10,000. Okay. I prepaid $10,000. It's going to save me about $45,000 in interest. Okay. So what if I said, take a look at, if I do that, that's going to leave me $289,000, $289,000 that I owe. All right. So I'm going to put in 289,000. Okay, let me highlight it here. 289,664. 664. Okay, 0.12. All right. Now, what if my real estate, what if my penalty is 5% of that times 0.05 equals 14,483. That would be my penalty if my penalty was a huge 5% of my balance. Okay. I just saved, by putting $10,000 on, 45 grand. So here's my question, folks. Would you pay 14,000 to save 45,000? Come on.
I just want to know where you want to wire the money to.
What was that, Chris? Come on.
I said, I would just ask, where do I need to wire the money to?
Exactly, folks. See, when we are so focused on the front end, ARV, cap rate. Am I purchasing this thing at 65% under market value, so I have enough money available to rehab the thing and still be under market value, so I can still move into this thing with equity? We're taught that on the front end. Okay, all of that stuff, ARV, cap rate, blah 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 blah, and cash flow. Cash flow is king here. I love cash flow. Do you know what we totally ignore? How much interest it costs to borrow the money. We're okay with paying retail, come on, full boat for the money. Listen, if I'm a real estate investor, I don't want to pay market rate for the property. There's not enough meat on the bone to make anything. So if I need an exit strategy, I don't have one. I don't have an exit strategy. If I buy at market rate and in a year or two, I have to get out of it right away. All right. The market turns against me. I can't rent it, whatever. And now I want to sell it. Psh, it's worth more than what I can sell it for. That's why when you go into these properties, you want to purchase it right. So no matter what happens, you have an exit strategy. That's what I'm learning by coming into these rooms and understanding this well. But we'll turn around and pay retail for the cash to make everything work. And the bank is so happy with the fact that if you're cash flowing on the front, you don't care what you're paying on the back end, because here's what I've been told, and I'm believing it in my head, that your tenant is paying your mortgage. Get that out of your head right now. Your tenant is not paying for the mortgage. Your tenant is paying to live there. They're giving you, when they give you that $2,000, $2,500, that $1,800, whatever money they give you, that is your money, all of it. And now out of your money, you're going to pay your mortgage. And then you're going to keep what's left over as your cash flow, and then you have to pay taxes on what you're cash flowing. But folks, in the first 5 years on this thing, when a real estate investor steps into this thing, all right, they're looking at their exit strategy, and some look at, they have a 1-year plan, and maybe they have a 5-year plan, and maybe they have a 10-year plan, just as a contingency to be able to look at this thing. So in the first 5 years, if I take the idea that in the first 5 years, that I'm making money on this thing, and I'm making a lot of money on it. In the first 5 years, look at this, $87,000 goes to interest, $82.14 goes to interest, plus the $20,000 that went to principal, plus, boom, 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 plus 20,000, 836, okay, 0.86. That's a total of 107,919. Okay, $107,000 just got paid out of the money my tenant gave me. All right, but out of $107,000 my tenant gave me, I get to keep $20,000 that goes to principal. That's the equity. Man, that's a lot of money. But if I look at the numbers, okay? If I put in my $87,000, 82 and 14, that's how much interest. And I divide it by the total amount of money that was given me, 107,000 $107,919. Look at those numbers. 80%, 81% of the money my tenant gave me went to interest, while I'm cash flowing on the front end, but I'm totally ignoring on the back end that I gave away 80% of my money. Doggone it, the bank is so happy. When are we going to turn that around? When are real estate investors going to start paying attention to how much it costs to borrow money? When are residential home buyers going to pay attention to how much it costs to borrow money? And here's why we need to pay attention to it. If I'm paying this kind of money out to purchase this much equity, you know what it means for that $87,000? It means I can't invest that money in more doors and make more money over time. Any money, listen to this now, any money that you could have made that you didn't make should be considered a loss. So, man, listen, if I'm looking at my equity, I'm purchasing equity. Anytime I have a loan, I'm purchasing equity. And I'm just saying, you don't have to do this. I'm just pulling these numbers out. If I could prepay $20,836, if I can prepay that, guess what? It saves me $85,000 in interest to get the same equity. To get the same equity, it cost me $85,000 less if I could prepay that. That's a lot of money. So that's $85,000 I can invest somewhere else and make more money. And I don't have to sacrifice a dime of the monies that I've already earmarked to reinvest. Lord, have mercy. This is why I'm so passionate about this. This is why I spend so much time on this to help people to understand it. So, Chris, or anybody, do you have any questions or any comments about how we should be looking at our money?
Well, it looks like we're looking at it the wrong way if we're doing it the traditional way. What happens if there is no prepayment penalty? Is that a good thing for us?
Chris, I absolutely love it. Listen, folks, whatever it costs you to do something, if it costs less, if you can lower your expenses, you make more money. Period. Bottom line, you make more money. So if there are no prepayment penalties, even if I did this and it cost me about $14,000 or $15,000 in prepayment penalties, I would pay it. But what if it didn't cost me that? What if it didn't cost me to prepay? So here's what you need to take a look at. It is opportunity cost now. Opportunity cost. Opportunity cost has to do with if I do this with my money. If I do, let's say I have, I got A, B, C, and D. I got A, B, C, and D options to do something with my money. If I choose A, that means I can't also do B, C, and D. I have to look at what I would be missing out on if I chose B, C, or D. Do the math. When you do the math, that's looking at opportunity cost, because if I use my money to prepay on this loan, some real estate investors have told me in the past, Don, why don't I take that money and put it on this loan when I could invest that money and make 6 or 7% on that? I can make 10% on that. I can make 15% on that. Here's why. Can I show you why? Because if I just take this amount, well, let's take a lower amount. Let's take on this 30-year loan, year loan, if I prepay $75.95, it saves me $34,000 in interest. Okay? So this is how you do that math. So if I'm so worried about making 15%, 20% return on my money, if I don't invest it in real estate, if I don't invest all my money in real estate, I've already earmarked how much money I want to go into real estate. This is extra money sitting on the side I'm talking about. Let's put my calculator back on the screen. My return on investment is $34,000. Now, Benjamin Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. $34,108.64. That's how much I'm going to save. I'm going to invest in that. I'm going to invest in that prepay, okay, divided by 7,595.26. Look at these numbers. You move the decimal place 2 places to the right. That's a 449% return on my money. Chris, where else am I going to get 449% return on my money? Man, oh man. See, what's going on, man?
What's happening? Good day to everybody. I got a question.
Please.
With the 40-year mortgages. So the 40-year mortgages, are they extending the loans to 40 years to offset the cost of the increase in taxes and insurance that are coming up? Because I'm hearing a lot of places are, well, we can't control taxes, we know that, and we can't control the cost for insurance. Are they anticipating the insurance costs and the taxes moving up in the next several years, and they're extending this 40-year, I guess, quote unquote, what would you call it? They're making it seem like it's a great thing. But if the costs are being increased in other areas, is it really so great?
Okay, so that's the other thing. So let's say I'm trying to understand your question. Let's get one thing out of the way. Here's what I'm thinking will not happen. Just because it's a 40-year, my year-to-year taxes and insurance will not increase because it's 40 years. Can you give me that? See?
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm speaking about just in the future when taxes do increase based on
Okay.
whatever economic factors and the insurance.
There you
whatever
go.
losses the companies are facing.
Okay. So we already know that I've never seen taxes or insurance go down. I just don't see that. They're going to go up. All right. So are they going to go up the same on a 30-year or a 40-year? Now, here's the thing. Keep this in mind, everybody. And if we don't get this idea across, any other idea across, let's get this one across. Because the bank gives you a 40-year loan, you do not have to keep it for 40 years. You hear what I'm saying? See?
Yes.
Most of my clients will pay this loan off in 6 or 7 years.
So you telling me it's not only saving in the interest cost, you're chopping down the amount of time it actually takes to pay it off?
Yes, sir. And not only that, Chris, if you're a real estate investor, are you really interested in paying this loan off if you're a real estate investor? Or would you like, if I could pay it off in 7, that means in 2 or 3 or 4 years, I'm in a much better position to cash out refi at a much lower interest cost.
Oh no, that's too many plays in one right there. That's gonna hurt somebody. The bank's gonna be changing the rules. Listen with it.
Listen, folks, here's what we're looking at. Okay. If I want to take out 80% on this thing, okay, let's say I want to take out $80,000. If I do it the bank's way on a 30-year loan, if I do it the bank's way, look how, just on paying down the principal on a this is a 40-year loan, on a 40-year loan. Okay. If I do it the bank's way, okay, then I've got $100,000 and I can take out about 80%. But no real estate investor I've ever talked to has looked at how much interest they paid to get it. To get $100,000 here costs $384,000. Boom. And it takes 294 payments to get there. Okay. 294 payments, 294 divided by 12. That's 24 years. Okay, who wants to do that? Even on a 30-year loan, okay, on a 30-year loan, we take it down to get $100,000. It costs $255,000 to get that interest and 198 payments. Okay, 198 payments. Let's bring up our thing here. 198 payments, 198, boom, 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 divided by 12. It takes 16 years. So to get 100,000 in, now what we're not looking at is market conditions. Of course, market conditions are going to help to increase our equity here, okay, over the long term. But I'm just saying by paying it down. But what if I could get here, not in 16 years, but what if I can get that same equity in the first 3 to 5 years, Chris, and not actually have to upset my apple cart in the monies I've already earmarked to go to real estate investing in the first place. I'm not touching that money. That money is earmarked for investment. I'm talking about other monies that are not earmarked for investment. I can get here in about 5 years instead of 15 or 20. And then I could cash out refi. So every time I cash out refi years sooner, When you look at compound interest, if you have to take an extra 10 years to get somewhere to get your cash out, you lose out on 10 years of compounding interest. What if I can get there sooner? Get my cash out, and then with my cash, I can make down payments on the next 2, 3, or 4 properties. Boom, 10 years sooner. Chris, what does that mean to my bottom line? What is that going to mean to my my net worth?
It's going to exponentially growth hack.
So what do you say, C? What do you say? What do you see when we go over saving money on the interest part so that we can invest sooner and cheaper?
That's incredible. I have to second what Chris said, and basically this is great. This is amazing. So everybody take it in.
So folks, listen, if you want to know more about what we're doing here, because I'm pushing all the buttons today, let me see if I can put the right information on the screen at the right time. I'm putting on the screen here my 10K card, okay? 10K card, all right? What I'm showing here is you want to get your savings and earnings report. If you're a real estate investor, if you are a homeowner, and you want to know what this process will do for you, guess what? All the guesswork is taken out. We have an AI system that takes a look at all of the math and says, what is the smallest amount you can pay to kill the maximum amount of interest per dollar applied? How to make your dollars do more work for you, buy more equity at a much lower interest cost. We do all of the math, and the program will prompt you as to how much money to pay, what month to pay it in, what day of the month to pay it on, and which loan to attack to save the most amount of interest without using any monies that you've already earmarked to reinvest. So you're making money here and you're making money there. Lord have mercy. So you want to go to my 10K card up above, go to ice10k.com. Click on that link. When you click on that link, what happens is you are brought up to my video card. And in that video card, you actually see, what's his name? Oh, shoot. Come on. E.T. That's right. E.T., the hip hop preacher. Okay. You see E.T., the hip hop preacher, and he goes into what he used the P.I.L.L method to pay off his loan. I get so excited. I forget my name if you give me an opportunity. So E.T. paid off his mortgage using the P.I.L.L method. Folks, it's talking about saving interest. And so people are so worried about the wrong thing. Don, how much does it cost to use the P.I.L.L method? A lot less than the interest you're paying now. That's what it costs. Less. Come on. Do you realize people ask me more questions about what I do to save them 75% of this interest than the questions they asked when they were signing all those documents, not reading a single one, to get into that mortgage so the bank could overcharge you.
Damn. That sounds so sad. And that's the truth, because people never read those documents. They just sign it. It's ready to go. They're happy to get into their house.
Yep.
And they're gone down the street. But I do have a question.
Go right ahead.
What happens if a person has multiple houses? Can they do the same P.I.L.L method on multiple properties all simultaneously with the special AI system?
Oh man. Okay. Here we go. Listen, I have to show you better than tell you, Chris. Okay. Let me show you as opposed to telling you. So we're going to, now I want to finish while I'm pulling this up, folks. Go to ice10k.com, click on the link that says get a savings and earnings report, follow all of the directions, and it will our program will let you into a financial form. When you let into that financial form, put all of your financial data in. Now, the one thing that trips people up is when they're putting their cell phone number in so the program can verify you, make sure there's no spaces. No spaces. Okay, we already have the +1 in there. Make sure there's no space between the +1 and your phone number, and everything will work out just fine. Just follow the directions there. Okay, so and then somebody from my team will contact you. All right, and when they contact you, we're going to verify the numbers and then set up a consultation. All right, so now I'm going to pull up. Let me see here. Let's see. We want to profile prop. All right. I need to get. We need to get our demo. So I'm gonna put a demo on the screen, Chris, to answer that question. And here is a demo of our program. Let's put that up. Okay. And let's go back to the screen. All right, there. So now you see a demo. So Chris, I'm going to answer your question. So I can put in this demo, all right, I'm going to reset the account. I'm going to reset the account and I'm going to put in multiple properties. This is 10 mortgages plus a HELOC. All right. So it's 10 first mortgages and 1 second mortgage for a total of 11 mortgages. All right. And so here's what our program is doing with that. Okay. So let me show you the mortgages. So we start out with, let me make the picture a little bit bigger. All right. We have mortgage number 10. Then it goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you see there's different interest rates and different amounts owing. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and the HELOC. Okay. So we got 10 mortgages and the HELOC here, all at different amounts, different interest rates. Okay. So here's the thing. Most people want to know, well, which one do you attack first? The lowest amount or the highest interest rate? Now, when you're attacking a loan, it's based on interest cost and how much interest you can eliminate. Okay. So you could have a low interest rate, but have a high interest cost because of how much you owe on that particular mortgage. So don't just look at the rate. Don't just look at how much money you owe. You've got to do all of the math involved. How much is the interest cost? So our program does all of the math. All right. And let me go to what we call the action plan, where we can see how we're tracking our money. I'm bringing in $15,000 a month in rent. I'm paying my bills. So let's go back to February here. We're in February. You see the date over here in February. And when I receive my $15,000 in rents, I just tell the program I received my $15,000 in rents. I execute that. It disappears from the screen. And now my program knows how much money I have in the bank. Okay, because I have a virtual checking account and a virtual savings account in here that when I manage it, it matches what I have in the bank because I tell it I have an extra $15,000. I have an extra $15,000 in my bank. I have the same amount of money in the program. Program knows how much money I have. And every time I pay a bill or a mortgage, I just tell the program I paid mortgage number 8, mortgage number 6, and it keeps subtracting that money. So when I go down and finish February, all of February is gone. I paid all my bills, but I didn't put any extra money on the debt. I'm looking now at March. I got a new $15,000. The program is now telling me, put money in savings, put money in savings. And then when I put some money in savings, then it's telling me to pay the HELOC off to 0 and then put the rest of the money, $14,000. Listen, folks, I have about, according to this thing, I've already got about $10,000 in savings, but the program says only put $4,120.66 on mortgage number 9. Now, why mortgage number 9? Here's why. Because when I put that money on mortgage number 9, let me make this just a little bit bigger. The program does the math and says you're going to save $47,878.27 in interest by putting $4,120.66 on mortgage number 9. So the program says, out of all of your mortgages, here's where you need to focus on, because that's where you're going to save the most money. Pay less interest, earn your equity faster and cheaper. Now, what does this really mean? If I pay this mortgage down like the bank wants me to, making the minimum payment every month, by the time I pay it down by $4,120.66, I will also have given the bank $47,878.27. So here's my question to everyone. If I know that the bank is going to charge me $47,000 just to pay it down by $4,100, can I now justify just making the minimum payments to get that much equity? Do you see what I'm talking about, folks? We have been taught to ignore this. We've got a lot of good information on how to make money in real estate. And I'm kind of wondering now, if this isn't being taught in junior high school, in high school, and in college, and in real estate investment courses, and your mortgage professional doesn't know what you just learned today. Your real estate agent doesn't know what you've learned today, and it's not being taught in any course anywhere. How did we get here where we totally ignore how much interest we're paying on these loans? Somebody wanted that to be commonplace. Somebody wanted that to be the norm.
And they did a good job at pushing it.
They did. You talk about marketing. Now, go ahead, Chris.
So I do have a question. So not only are we just reducing interest costs and payments, we're basically eliminating interest. Is that what we're really doing here? Eliminating it?
Eliminating interest, eliminating payments, and gaining equity cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what we're doing, folks.
So people that's happy with their 2% interest, we can show them we can get 0% interest using the P.I.L.L method. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, man. You know, Chris, I'm glad you said that. I can get you better than 0% interest.
Wow. How do you do that?
Okay. Here's how you get better than 0% interest. How would you like to get back every single penny of interest you've ever paid?
That sounds juicy.
Okay, here's what we're looking at. I'm going to go to reports here. I'm going to go to net worth. I'm clicking on net worth. I'm looking at wealth accumulation. When you take a look at how much interest you pay on those loans and how much interest you didn't pay, and you start to calculate, because it's 2023 right now. So we can actually have all these paid off by 2043 if we wanted to. What if you start taking that money you didn't pay in interest and invest it, okay, and make 1% on your money? Only 1%. This is what I'm getting ready to show you, Chris, is 1% return on your money, okay? In the first year, by putting that money towards an investment, making only 1%, okay, you'll have $227,000. In the second year, you'll have $486,000. In the third year, you'll have $767,000. In the fourth year, you'll have $1 million, and that's at 1% return on your money. If you take your money and put it in a CD, making 1% that you were putting towards these mortgages, this is what it would be at 1% return on your money. But what if you didn't put it towards a CD? What if you put that money towards real estate where you're getting 10, 15, 20% return on your money. Chris, can you see now that you can actually make more money investing the money you didn't pay to the bank and get back more money than you've ever paid in interest?
Yes.
Come on. We're looking at this thing all the way around, folks. It's not just myopic. It's not just we have blinders on. What we're looking at is what we can do from every single situation. And we're learning now not to be only focused on one thing, cash flow on the front end, but also reducing the amount of interest that we pay and then tracking it and make sure that we invest that money that we were so willing to pay before. Man, oh man. Got Giuseppe on the stage now with us. Folks, listen, I'm almost done here. Do you have any other questions about this 40-year loan business where we can look at this? I just want to show you something. If on a 40-year loan, $300,000 at 6%, I prepay. Look at this tiny number, $1,858.23. If I prepay that, Chris, if I prepay that, Giuseppe, Steve, if I prepay that, I knock off 1 year off this loan with only $1,800. Just for giggles. If they ever offer me a 50-year loan, would you like to see what it does? That's 600 payments. Watch this. I'm going to duplicate this tab. We're going to take this loan. We're going to put in 600 payments. That's 50 years. My new payment, look at this payment. You talk about cash flow? Look at this. $1,500. Look at these principal payments. $79.
So basically what you're saying is by them making this an extended length of time, it actually can hurt them using the P.I.L.L method.
Exactly. If you know how to read this thing, you see, it was against the law to teach slaves how to read. Okay? The Bible says that the borrower is slave to the lender. And what we don't know how to read is this amortization schedule. But once you learn how to read it, and then you plug a computer into it, man, oh man, it changes the game. Not by a little bit, but by a ton. On 50 years, it only takes $977 prepaid to knock out 1 year and save $16,000 in interest. With $2,000, you knock out 2 years. With $3,000 prepaid on a 50-year loan, you knock out 3 years. $4,000, $5,000, $5,500 knocks out the first 5 years on this loan, saving $87,000 in interest. But they're not offering the 50-year loans yet, but I hope they will. I hope they will soon. But let's stick to the 40-year. $1,800, $3,800. In 3 years, $5,900 prepaid. 48 months, $8,000. In 60 months, if I prepay this thing by $10,000, okay? Now, where am I going to get that kind of money? Let me show you something, folks. Do you know people who put an extra amount of money down, more money down than they need to put down? Have you ever heard of anybody who says, I have an extra $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 down? Once they get into the loan, they continue to put a larger amount down because somebody told them they can save interest on the back end. I never, ever, 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 ever put a large down payment on a loan larger than I need to. Take that money. Listen, Son, I had a guy come up to me and says, listen, I got 300,000. I got an extra 100,000. He's an engineer. I got an extra 100,000. If I put $100,000 down, I can have a $200,000 loan, and it would save me about $57,000 $300,000 in interest. I said, well, no, get the whole 300,000. If you're so determined to put an extra $100,000 down, look what happens when you put an extra $100,000 down on this 40-year loan. Let me scroll down to $100,000. Make your first payment because your $100,000 is still in the bank because you didn't use it as a down payment. Look what happened. Man, I'm still scrolling. $100,000 down knocks off 294 payments as you put it as a prepayment instead of a down payment. You see, you still have a $200,000 loan, but you start out on payment 294 instead of payment number 1.
Wow. So when we make these payments, is it imperative and important that we make a principal payment, not just a regular payment when paying the bank?
Exactly. So you want to find out, okay? You are purchasing your equity. And the bank says, if you do it on my timing, I will lend you the money. But every month you pay me, okay, starting out on this 40-year loan, every month you pay me, you're paying me this. Okay, you're renting my money, all right, every month for this. Okay, and here's what they're doing that you're not seeing. Let's go back to the 30-year loan because this is what we're most familiar with. Let me go back to a 30-year loan. Okay, I'm going to show you in the last few minutes here, okay, how the bank charges for this. I got $300,000, 6%, 30 years. When you look at the summary, when you're closing on this loan, you're borrowing $300,000. They're hoping you take all 30 years to pay it back, and you're going to pay $347,514 in interest to do it. Folks, that's not 6%. That's more money in interest than you borrowed in principal. That's 115.838% all day. All day. All 6% loans for 30 years are 115.838%. All of them. No matter how much you borrow at 30 years at 6%. 115.838%. So if that's the case, then why are we not looking at what we can do to mitigate that? I don't want to pay them all of that interest. Okay? I can pay them a lot less interest by looking at how much I would have paid as opposed to how much I can pay. So here's how they figure it out. I'm going to put my calculator on the screen one more time. Okay, here's how they do it. They're not taking 6% and multiplying it by the 300,000 and compounding. This is not compound interest. Compound interest is paying interest on interest. So this isn't compound. This is called amortized interest, which makes more money. Amortized interest, you're charged interest on the unpaid balance each month. So what they're doing is taking your 6%, okay, putting it in as a decimal, dividing it by 12, and you get 0.005. So they're taking 1/12 of your interest rate and multiplying it by the unpaid balance. So if I make my very first payment here, I'm left with a balance of $299,701.35. I take 1/12 of the interest rate, 0.005, multiply it by my new balance of $299,701.35. I get $1,498.0.506. And because this is a 6, I round this up to 1 and look at my interest payment on line 2, $1,498.51. That's exactly how they do it. So it's not one mortgage, folks. This is 360 separate mortgages that they're charging you every single month. This is why it is so expensive. But because the bank chose this methodology, They didn't have to, but they chose to use this. There is a glaring weakness in their system. If you do it according to their timing, you are going to pay through the nose. Just give the bank their money according to your timing, and you save at the exact same rate they're charging you. So if I pay this one, I give them the $300.14 early. Let's say I make my first payment in January. Also in January, I give them the principal payment on line 2. I'm paid down to line 2 in January, and then they have to take that 0.005 and multiply it by this number, which gives me the 2 numbers on line 3. And I skip this. Because I gave them the $300 on my own time, I do not have to pay them the $1,498.51. So I get this equity for free. It's even better on the 40-year mortgage. It's even better on the 40-year mortgage. Look at that. I only have to give $151. Any other questions, anybody? Giuseppe, I see you're in here. What's up? What's going on with you?
I love to be here because several times people ask me why real estate is great in USA. I love the idea that people understand that it is the financial system that it's different in any other country, you know. I invested in Dubai, India, Brazil, UK. I'm Italian, and I give this number and I give immediately the word back because I'm here with my notes to learn how does it work, the mortgage. In 27 years in Italy, I had over 100 companies, over 1,000 employees, but personally, I never owned over 27 property. In 7 years in USA, between Florida today, Florida and Cleveland, I sell a lot of property in Cleveland and I start to buy in Florida. I have close 400 doors. How is possible? The financial system. You need to have knowledge, not only about the property, how can fix it, how can sell it, how can buy it. But if you understand how does it work, what you explain now, you can make a lot of money, you can pay a low taxes. And that is because rich people are rich in the same moment, in the same time, in the same market. When small people, they lost money, rich people, they make money. Why? Knowledge. The secret is knowledge. Happy to be here. Giuseppe, back to you.
Thank you very much. So, folks, any other questions about this? Because we're getting ready to wrap this up. I only come in here for 2 hours each day, but I just want to make sure that the passion gets over to you, that we do not have to keep paying the bank all this money. Chris, any questions?
So if we made these prepayments, say a year in advance, are you saying for a period of time or a period of months after that, we would not make a payment toward that particular lender?
Not at all. You have a payment every single month. You have a payment every single month according to the contract. You can't get rid of that. But instead of 360 payments, the P.I.L.L method will show you how to make 90 of those payments or 83 of those payments. But you're going to have a payment every month. You just will have a lot fewer of them. Does that make sense, Chris?
Makes perfect sense. Glad I asked that question because I know somebody else was thinking that. I can skip some payments. Yeah.
No. You can't skip a payment on a mortgage. No. The contract, listen, skip 3 payments and see what happens.
That letter coming in the mail. Then they're going to have to see my man Tax Deed Wolf.
There you go. All right. No, Tax Deed Wolf is going to be on it because he's going to get prior notice that you are that you may be in default and start making moves on your house. Isn't that right, Tax Deed?
100%.
So listen, don't start making those kinds of mistakes, folks. We want to know, listen, you want to get an education on how these loans actually work. What I'm offering you today is not a variation on the theme. I'm not offering you something like there are 3 or 4 different ways to do something, and they're all about the same result. I'm offering you something today that there is nothing else on the planet that comes close to giving you these results. We are number 1 by far in saving people interest. Nobody comes close. And paying off debt. Nobody comes close to this particular algorithm. Why? Because it's the only program on the planet that focuses on saving interest cost, as opposed to seeing how fast you can pay down the loan. Because you can do stuff fast and end up costing you a lot of money. You know, I had a guy who paid off he paid off a car, paid off his Tesla, took $40,000 out of the bank, paid off the rest of his Tesla. And then he says, I'm taking the money. I'm no longer paying on the Tesla. I'm putting on my mortgage every month. I said, well, why are you calling me? Because that's exactly what the experts like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman teach. She said, well, I saw one of your videos and I'm wondering if I did the wrong thing. So I said, when you paid off the car, how much interest did you save? He said, I don't know. Let me tell you something, folks. You're not paying off these loans to pay them off. You're paying them off to save interest. So think about this as a question. If your loans were 0% interest already, 0% interest, is there any financial benefit to paying them off early?
None.
None. If somebody were to give me money at 0% interest, I'd be crazy to pay it off early. Okay? They're giving it to me for free. So the next thing you want to know is, well, how much interest can I save? That's why you're paying off a loan. So we figured out that he's saved about $7,000 in interest. Okay. And let me show you his loan. We're going to do this duplicate because I remember it was 700,000 because it was in Arizona, 700,000 at 4.5%. Okay. 360 months. Okay, here's his payment. Okay, 700,000. Okay, he took $40,000 out to pay off a car, and now the car's gone. It's feeling good, and he's taking the money that he's no longer paying on the car and putting on the principal each month. But if he had put that 40 grand on this mortgage, look what it would have done. 40 grand on this mortgage. Look at that. Takes out 41 payments and saves $102,000 in interest. Do you see how we get fooled on stuff all the time by listening to the current financial experts that are telling us because the car is less than the mortgage, we need to focus there and pay that off? Does that make sense to anybody here? That I'm going to save $7,000? Listen, you can only spend that 40 grand one time. This is a classic opportunity cost loss mistake. Taking 40 grand and saving 7,000 when I could have taken 40 grand and saved over $100,000 in interest.
Numbers don't lie.
They do not lie. Okay. And Chris, listen, everybody loves you. They love your humor. They love what you're talking about. But listen, what you talk about is serious. And if I was lying at any time during this conversation, I think your humor would have gone off and you would have said, listen, stop lying to the folks, Don. That's what we're talking
about. It's making total sense. And also, when you mentioned about the car, are you saying that this same method can be used to pay down car notes as well?
Car notes, credit cards, student loans, mortgages, any kind of debt that you have. In fact, student loans are paid off in an average of 5 to 7 years on my program. I don't care how big they are, because we save you so much interest. We give you a plan whereby you can give the money back to the student loan companies at a lot less interest. Our program reads the interest rates for you and tells you which loan to focus on. Now, you asked the question before, Chris, when you have several loans. Here's one thing you don't do when you have several loans. Don't try, if you don't have the P.I.L.L method, Don't try to spread your money out and pay more than the minimum on more than one loan. Don't do that. It leaves you with no cash and it decreases the benefit that you get out of it. Even if you pick the wrong loan, focus all your efforts on that one loan and get rid of it, and then focus on another one. Okay? Now, with our program, do you see how expensive this loan is? Okay? Every single month. But if I have more than one loan, can you see that by paying it down, my interest payments get smaller and smaller and smaller every month? Look at that, smaller and smaller. So if I have more than one loan, doesn't it make sense that if this was my most expensive loan, if I focused on it, pretty soon my other loans would be more expensive than this one because I paid it down to a certain point? Does that make sense, Chris?
That makes sense.
Does it also make sense that I would not continue to pay this loan down to zero because I'm putting more money on and getting less benefit? Does it make more sense to pay this down to a certain point and then switch to another loan and get it paid down to a certain point so I can save more money in interest?
Makes perfect sense.
Do you want to do the math as to when that happens?
I don't want to do it. I want the P.I.L.L method to do it. Put the numbers in, press play, and go about my day.
There you go. Oh, man. I forgot about the rhymes. Folks, we have about 2 minutes left. I want to thank everybody for being here today. And I need to let the folks go online, but I'm going to come back to Clubhouse here and let everybody say do their outros. But I'm going to let's hear from Dr. Eric Thomas, and we're going to say goodbye online to everybody. I got to get through. I'm pushing all the buttons today, and let me see here. I got to go here and find my thing. Oh, here it is. All right, folks. See you later. Listen to this, and we're going to be done with online. Okay, here we go.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.